have very good reasons. We may not be able to get to all of them as we review some of the high points of philosophy, but philosophers don't say something just because they feel that way. They know that it may be indigestion. That's why they feel that way. So they look for something more solid. They're looking for certitude, something necessary based upon reason. This is very strange. Look around you. See, do you find a lot of people who do that? What most people do is that they get out there with the other guys and they try to get ahead in this crowd of lemmings. They want to be the first off the cliff. Right. Philosophy is different. What you can do. Yeah.
Can you talk about Thales' convictions? You're essentially saying that he was convicted that you needed one, you needed to be open.
Yeah.
And in science, science is sort of a craft. I mean, what he's remarkably different from most other people.
Oh,
I've
yeah.
met than their convictions are what you suggest. This is the one way. And if you want to pass this class, then you really have to show me you can do this. What's the difference in his convictions and these one-way people? Seem to be the majority.
Yeah, the big difference with the people who say there's only one way to do this, and that is that you have to, then you can fill in the blank. Win the World Series, get ahead in business, have more fun, whatever. The big difference is that those people who say there's only one way change that way. If they can't make it into the World Series, then they start putting some other objective forth as the objective for life. And they pursue that for a while, and then they change that change.
So they like integrity.
Yeah. Whereas Thales changed, he did a lot of change, but the goal of his change was always the same. He was looking for the meaning and the value. And he was pursuing truth. He found a little truth here, a bigger one there, a bigger one here, and he was looking for all truth. Truth itself. What's another name for truth itself?
Reality.
God. Yeah.
You know, I had an experience with that truth once, being a postal employee. And, you know, we were under pressure. And it was during Christmas. That's when everybody's buying money orders to send to the family and selling all kinds of stamps and this and that. And it was very heavy. The line was very heavy. And at the same time, they were introducing that new system of called the octopus. It would sort all the packages and everything. It was like an octopus. And they brought 11 men from Denver. They were with the.
So it was very busy and
they brought some and the man and he came and one of the inspectors from down south.
No, we don't need to know where he's from, but what did he do?
Okay, he asked, "What's the truth?"
Uh-huh.
He got me.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, well, you could
finally,
always tell him.
after, this takes a little time.
Yeah.
To get to the truth takes a little time, gotta meet a lot of people. And he finally came to me, he said, "You know what the truth is?" I said, "It's Christ." Somebody said God,
Yeah.
but he is evidently, you know,
Yeah.
regardless of where we
and
came
God.
from, he said, Christ.
Christ and God are the same God.
Oh, that's the story there.
Right. Okay. Yeah. And if somebody were to ask you what is the truth, you could say, well, one of them is that you just ask, what is the truth? Isn't that really? Yeah. Okay. So what happens now with Thales getting going is that he shows us how different philosophers are. He shows us just what you were talking about, that most folks don't do this. This is hard, and it is a very spiritual activity. It's a sort of self-help spirituality. Now, in the wake of Thales, we have a whole bunch of people in Greece who began to do this. And they began to discover. They looked at all of the reasons. See, Thales gave hundreds of reasons why everything is basically water. He could get water out of everything, including rocks. He could get water out of rocks. He could heat up rocks and get some steam out of them. Now, not every rock will do that, but quite a few of them do. So he proposed that everything was water. Well, as they investigated it, they began to discover that everything is not water. So they proposed that it would be dirt, or that it would be air, or that it would be fire. And they did all of these things. These are the things that people were doing in the beginning. And it's an illustration of how important it is to do science in order to have something solid for your whole picture. So as they were doing that, they came up with a whole bunch of problems. So it's not water, it's not earth, it's not fire, it's not air. And while this is happening, a whole bunch of youngsters get discouraged. They're in school, they think that in the freshman year when they learn about water, that's it. It's all water. Come back in the sophomore year and find out that it's dirty instead. Well, now they got problems. So these people began to say, this failed, that failed, the other failed, the other failed. In my search for truth, I failed. But they didn't want to admit responsibility. So what did they say instead? Not that I failed to find truth, but there isn't any truth. It doesn't exist. Right? These are the people who call themselves wise. Sophia is wisdom in Greek. So they are the Sophists. Okay? And they proposed, because they couldn't find truth, that truth did not exist. Now, this is the way that most half-baked intellectuals are. Okay? They were once very much in love with truth, they pursued truth, and they were disappointed. So these disappointed lovers now say truth doesn't exist. Okay? And almost everybody in a college or university is like that. Almost all of the professors are Sophists. And they say, well, I had great hopes in this and it failed. Like the great hope in the atom, and then they split it. Now nobody knows what that's all about. So since nobody knows, there isn't any truth. And these are the people who usually end up running things, right? Among all the Sophists that we've had in recent times, perhaps the most influential of them all was William Jefferson Clinton. And he gives you the excellent example of what sophistry is all about. He's given up on truth entirely and is pursuing his own end. If you have to tell lies to get there, no big deal. Which reminds me, I have to tell you this little story. Okay? That Hillary Clinton, as soon as she became senator, decided it was time to go on a junket. But she had to go on a junket where no one had ever been before. Right? So she went to hell. And there at the entryway to hell, she saw this devil who was taking a look at people, checking them against things. It looked like clocks on the wall. Right? And the clocks would move. And she said to the devil, "What are those clocks doing moving around?" He said, "Oh, that's the most important thing in hell. It is a lie meter. And everybody's got a lie meter, right? And this thing goes around, and she says, "What's this one over here?" He said, "Oh, that was Mother Teresa's. It never moved at all." Right? "What's this one that's clicked off one or two?" "That was Abe Lincoln's. He said only a couple lies." Now she became interested. She said, "Where's Bill's?" Right? And the devil said, "Oh, Satan's got that. Uses it for a ceiling fan." So all these things.
And you see Clinton as an example of what's gone wrong with Catholic education. I mean, it's easy to objectify. He's a product of our. We wanted him. We voted him in. They still like him. He's gotten much better. We listen to him now that he's not bought. There's a talent.
Right. Well, your original question was, do I see him as a result of what went wrong with Catholic education? No, because he didn't get Catholic education. He went to Georgetown. Now, besides, he didn't get any previous education that could be called Catholic. His formative years were in Arkansas, which is not a Catholic stronghold. So whatever he got by way of education, I don't think we could properly refer to it.
So Georgetown doesn't have anything to do with Catholics?
Well, not very much. In fact, they don't say that it's Catholic education. They say it's Jesuit education, which is something else.
It's been a long time since I've had philosophy, but the term nihilist or nihilist, is that a school of philosophy? Is that another name for a sophist? What is it?
Yeah, it's another name for a sophist. See, in your handout, I give you some examples of what sophists do. And if truth does not exist, see, they have denied the truth. They have annihilated truth. So in that sense, they are nihilists or nihilists. You might have heard it pronounced that way. Now, if truth doesn't exist, they're really in trouble, as Socrates pointed out. See, the sophist would get up there and say, there is no such thing as truth. Socrates would wave his hand, and Socrates would say, yes, Socrates. And he'd say, did I hear you correctly? That there is no truth? And I said, yes. And then Socrates said, could that be true? This is the problem with the nihilist, is that he has just gone up in flames. He has just erased himself before your very eyes. He has told you what he wants you to believe is a truth. And what is that truth? There aren't any. See, this is very disturbing.
But if you put a slash on the water, and you get to that word you mentioned, blood, where does that come from? Water and blood on the slash.
Don't know about that. I'll have to check with you on that.
No, not.
Yeah. But the point here is that sophists have denied all that counts. They have tried to make themselves go down to zero. They haven't succeeded, but they're working at it. They are becoming less each moment of the day. And this is a kind of nihilist view.